And the session is being recorded, as you said. Okay, so it's 4 o'clock. I think I can start then. I'm just going to, yeah, that's maybe better. So welcome everyone to today's webinar. It's brought to you by BELTA. We are the Belgian English Language Teachers Association. We are very happy to have Sandy Millen with us today as a speaker. Sandy grew up in the United Kingdom and she has worked all around the world. She was a teacher in Borneo, in Paraguay, the Czech Republic, Crimea, in Canada, in Thailand, and in the United Kingdom. She also worked as a CELT teacher, and since September she has been Director of Studies of the International House School, and that is a private language school in Poland. I'm not going to pronounce the name of the city. She is currently living and working in, Santi will do that later. She is passionate about teaching and she is constantly trying to develop professionally. And to that end, she is very active on Twitter. She tweets herself and she also follows educators like herself on Twitter. Sandy also has her own blog where she writes about teaching. Very often she shares lesson plans and very practical ideas. She's very good at that, I think. But she also reflects on teaching and on her own personal journey, her studies, her moving to different countries, different cultures, her language learning, etc. Sandy regularly attends local and international ELT conferences where she particularly enjoys presenting. I saw her a few times as a presenter myself. I really enjoyed that. And so we are really fortunate that today we have her here in our own living room this afternoon as a presenter. This time of the year is a great opportunity for us teachers to have some fun with the students. It's the end of the year, the end of the semester for many of us, and we can reflect on the previous year and also look ahead to the coming year. Sometimes we look for hours trying to find the right activities for our classes. So this webinar will really share some of Sandy's favorite activities. She also shares all the materials so that all we have to do is to adapt them to our students, to our own context, to our own experience of Christmas and the New Year. So Sandy, I'll give you the word.
Thank you very much, Mika. That was, you've made me all red. Thank you. Thank you for such a lovely introduction. And it's really good to see so many people here, some of the people from my CELTA courses in the past, one of my teachers from the school here. The city that I'm living in now is called Bydgoszcz. Everybody is frightened of pronouncing it, but if you're not sure, you can pronounce it Bidgoszcz, Bydgoszcz. I'll write that in the chat box. Like this. Yeah, that's the easy way to pronounce it. It's not quite as scary as all those consonants make it look. And yeah, this is a variation of a presentation that I did when I was working at IH Semestopol, and I know that the activities were really popular there, so I hope that they're as useful for you guys as they were for the teachers that I've shown them to before. So some of you might have seen one or two of them on my blog already, but apologies if there's any repetition, but there are some new activities in there as well. Is my presentation up on the screen, or do I just press next? There it is. Excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah, so you do need to have a pen and a piece of paper ready for a bit later and something to lean on, but I'm not going to tell you why yet. That one you'll just have to wait and find out. And I'll give you the link again at the end where you'll be able to find all of the activities and materials, but you can click on the links throughout the presentation as well. I'll tell you when things are clickable and what you should be able to find. So here you go. Let's get straight into it. So when you first start teaching the students about Christmas, it's very useful for them to have some Christmas vocabulary. So I've got a set that you can find at Christmas Quizlet. If you've never used Quizlet before, I've got a guide, and I forgot to give you the link here, so I'm just going to put it in the chat box for you. Quizlet is a vocabulary learning website, which I've been using for about 6 or 7 years. Thanks, Mika. And that guide there that I put together is for has links to groups at different levels. So this is a set of about 20 words, including things like angel, snowman, Christmas tree, Christmas cake, Christmas pudding, that kind of thing, all accompanied by pictures. And you can use them as they are, but if you log into Quizlet, you can also print them off, and you'll be able to do lots of things with the flashcards. So the first thing I'd recommend, simply show the students the pictures and drill the words. If you're not sure how to pronounce them, you can click on all of the words in Quizlet and you'll be able to hear them, sometimes in my dulcet tones, I think. Once you've taught them the pictures, you can teach them the spelling if they're old enough. You can also use these words with pre-literate students. You can use them a limited range of the words with students who can't read or write, or you can teach them all along with the words. So this is vocabulary that I've taught from 7-year-olds up to 65-year-olds, I think, with the same sets of words. Then there are various games that you can play. So these are fairly typical flashcard games. As Kevin says, all the links within the PowerPoint are clickable. So the first one is to put some of the words around the room, and you just have to run and touch the flashcard when you hear the teacher say it, and then you can hand over to the student, and one of the students can say the words for the others to run and touch the flashcard. Another game that you can play is guessing, where you have the flashcards face down so you can't see it. You move them around and shuffle them, and then the students, you point to a particular flashcard and the students have to guess which flashcard it is. It's very important that all your flashcards are the same size. It's a bit easy with my laminated flashcards that I've got because they're all different sizes. It's fairly easy to guess, but it's a good piece of revision for them. You can do a game that I call Lightning Quick. I don't know what other name it might have. So imagine that you have, I left my flashcards at school, unfortunately. Imagine that you have your flashcard like this. They can't see what it is. You show it to them like this. So they see it for just a few seconds, and then they all have to shout out what the word is. Again, with all of these games, you can hand over to the students and get one of the students to be the teacher once you've demonstrated a few times. Another flashcard game that you can play with it is a word grab. So you arrange either the pictures or the words or both on a table. You call out a word and the students have to grab the card. If you want to use the cards with more than one class, laminate them if that's possible. Otherwise, they won't last past one class if you play a word grab. But my laminated cards have been serving me for about 6 years now, I think, with all of my classes. So it's worth the investment of time if you can do that. You could also use fly swatters, have the words on the board or on the table, and the students hit the word with the flashcard when they hear the definition. Again, with all of these things, you can hand over to the students. If you have the pictures arranged, you can show them the word quickly and then they have to grab the picture. That helps them to practice the spelling or recognizing the word quickly as well. Another flashcard game that you can play with them is one that I call pen swapping. So this one's slightly complicated to explain, so I hope I can manage it. So we have, I think, we've got 22 people in the room. So you would imagine if we were all sitting in the same room at the same time, each of us would take a pen, and our pen would be the word that we choose. So we can choose any item of vocabulary from the Christmas words. Doesn't matter which one, but the important thing is that we don't tell anybody. We have our pen in our hand. I always demonstrate this in open class first rather than explaining it. Have my pen in my hand and you have your pen. And then we switch pens and say our words, and that means that we've switched our words as well. So imagine that I have Christmas pudding in this hand and I have Christmas cake in this hand. And when I switch with my partner, I now have Christmas cake. That's a slightly confusing explanation. It's much easier when you're all in the same room. And basically the students repeat that as a mingle with all of the students in the class for, say, 2 or 3 minutes, and then you say stop. Everybody then stands in a circle, and I always start with whatever pen I've got because I join in the game. And I say to them what word I think that I've got at the end of the activity. So somebody's given me their pen and they've said Santa Claus to me. So I hold up my pen and I say Santa Claus. And then I say, is that correct? The person who started with that pen then has to confirm whether it's the right word or not. If it is, the whole class gets a point. If it's not, no points. Then we work around the group and everybody says what word they've got, and the person whose pen it was has to say whether it's correct or not. By the end, for example, there are 22 of us, maybe we've got 8 points. We've got 8 words that are still attached to the same pen that they started being attached to. Then we repeat the game and we try and get more points as a class. I pretty much always play it twice. But as I say, that game's a little bit confusing. I would recommend trying it out in the staff room before you do it with your students, just because I realise that explanation may have confused you a little. Unfortunately, I don't have enough people to demonstrate it with. Another thing that you can do if you have interactive whiteboards is show the students some of the games on Quizlet. The one that I like doing within the class is put the class into small groups, say 4 or 5 students in a group if you've got quite a big class, or 2 or 3 if you've got a smaller class. One student's in charge of the computer and the others have to help them, and they play the scatter game, and then another team has to try and be faster. That's one to have a look at Quizlet and work out how to play it. It's quite an easy thing to figure out. Students normally get it quite quickly. And the last thing that you can do is variations on board races. So a board race, you have the students separated into teams, depending on how big your class is and how big your board is, say 2 teams, maybe 3 teams. You could do a simple thing, which is who can remember all of the words the fastest. You could say you've got 1 minute to get as many words as possible on the board. You can show them the person at the back of the line one of the pictures, and they have to use Chinese whispers to pass the word along to the front, and the person at the front then has to run and write it on the board. Lots of different variations on the board race there that you can use the vocabulary for. So hopefully at least one of those is new to you. Once you've taught them the vocabulary and practiced it in a variety of ways, I've got a couple of extra activities that you can use to practice their spelling. So the first one is a word search. Oops, sorry, I've just opened the link on my own computer. Now I'm not sure why, but the picture's not actually showing on my computer. If you click somewhere in the middle of the slide, you'll actually be able to see the word search. All of the words are there as anagrams at the bottom of the page, and you also have the links on the right-hand side. So it's bit.ly/Christmas vocab word search, and then you also have Christmas vocab word search answers. So at the bottom, all of the words are there as anagrams, so you could just give students that to unjumble, or you could give them the anagrams and the word search, and they can use the 2 together to try and practice the spellings. That's one activity that you can do with those words. Those words match exactly to the Quizlet set that's there. You can also do this Christmas picture reading. So again, if you click on the picture or if you click on the link on the right, you'll get a bigger version of it. All of the pictures match to the pictures that are in the Quizlet set. So it's a little text about traditions, Christmas traditions in the UK based on my own family's experience or my own experience. And the idea is that the students read the text, but they replace all of the pictures with the words. And they can either write them or they can say them to a partner. And then what I quite often do with it afterwards, once they've read it, is I'll get them to turn it over and tell their partner as much as they can remember. So what do they remember from the text, or what did they find interesting from the text? Some other follow-on questions that you might have or that you might want to give the students. The text is, sorry, I'll just go back. The text is about celebrating Christmas. So it starts off with what happens on Christmas Eve, and then on Christmas Day with, and then the food that people eat and some of the specific British traditions like Christmas crackers. And so afterwards, that naturally leads on to asking students in countries where Christmas is celebrated, how do you celebrate Christmas in your family? What's similar to the UK? What's different? But then what British Christmas traditions would you like to try as well? I had, when I did this with some of my students in Russia, they said that they would really like to try Christmas pudding. So I happened to be going back to the UK. So I brought back some Christmas pudding for them to try after Christmas. They were quite excited by that. So if you're lucky enough to be able to do any of that, your students really like you for it. Bribery is always a good thing to do. Apart from Christmas in the UK and comparing it to the country that you're in, you could also expand that out to Christmas in other countries. So what do you know about Christmas in other countries? When do they celebrate? What do they eat? What do they do? You could have students in small groups coming up with maybe a poster or maybe a short presentation about Christmas in another country. They could then bring that in and share it with the other students in the class. I seem to remember that I did this with my students once and we made a little blog, or I thought about making a blog. I can't remember if it ever actually happened. But sharing Christmas traditions from all the countries that my multilingual group came from. It's really interesting for students to find out about other traditions and to realise that it's not, that their Christmas isn't the same as it is for everyone else. And even that students within the same country might celebrate Christmas in different ways, which is something I've discovered on travelling, that my Christmas isn't the same as anybody else's. They're all unique. So those are various things that you can do with that vocabulary, with the reading and the word search that you start off with. The next activity that I'll show you is one that I stole from Emma Gore-Lloyd's excellent Hive of Activities blog, but it also appeared at the end of the TEFL Commute podcast, episode 6 of season 2, which James, your president, is actually one of the producers of. But I did get it from Emma's blog before I heard it on there, but you can go and listen to it if you want to get another version of it. So this activity is called What's in the Stocking, and Emma recommends using it for vocabulary of speculation. So I'm going to show you my Christmas stocking, stolen from school, and there is something in the stocking. Now, if you were in the classroom, obviously to get the students to go around and feel it and see if they can work out what's inside, what I'm going to do is try and show you kind of the shape of what's inside. And if you can write your guesses in the chat box using some of the beautiful language that's on the slide for you, I will do my best to show you what's in there, and then you can try and figure it out. This is the shape of it. What do you reckon? Ooh. Oh, just a little clue, it's one of the Christmas words as well. Sorry, I'm working out the best place to hold it in front of the camera for you. That is the full shape of it, by the way. Let's see, I get 2 more guesses. So it's not a cell phone, it's not a bar of chocolate, it's not a Christmas cracker. I don't have any here, unfortunately. It's not a jingle bell. Would you like to know the answer? I'll show you. This is what's in the stocking. It is a wooden angel from Poznan. A pretty little wooden angel. So you kind of got the angel shape that was in there. So you can use it for practicing extra words. You could even put one of the flashcards in there if you like, a couple of the flashcards, and the students have to guess which flashcard you put in there to follow on. So yeah, so that's the game, What's in the Stocking. You could use a Santa hat as well, or anything Christmassy, what's in the Christmas bag. And encourage the students to use the vocabulary, because they will have a tendency to do what Joanne did and write jingle bell without using the nice functional language that's in the box. And Andrea did as well. So make sure that you get them to use the functional language as well. Okay, so the next activity hang on a second, is a set of Christmas jokes. So anyone who's ever had or seen a Christmas cracker in the UK knows that when you open a Christmas cracker, inside you get a little gift, which can be more or less tacky depending on how expensive the crackers you decided to buy were. And you also get some pretty tacky Christmas jokes. So that link takes you to, don't click on it yet if you have already, unless you have already, takes you to a set of jokes with the answers on a different card. So the idea is that the students have to match the answers to the jokes. They are very childish, so I do expect to hear some groans from my students. They might need help with pronunciation of some of the things as well, because part of what's involved in the joke is the pronunciation. So because we can't do the matching activity, I've got 3 of the jokes for you, and you need to write what you think the answer to the joke is in the text box. So this is the first joke. What is a mum's favourite Christmas carol? Does anybody know the answer to this one? Oh, no takers? Nobody guessing? Don't worry if you're wrong. Let's get 1 or 2 guesses. No ideas? Not at all? I forgot the answer to this one as well when I was doing it. Let's see what Matthias says. Maria, any ideas? No? Okay, I'll give you the answer. It's Silent Night. This is the level of quality of these jokes. Here's the second one. Who is Santa's most famous elf? Yeah, so that's probably because you've only seen it. That's the first time you've seen it. This is one of those jokes that when you've seen it 100 times, it's not quite so funny. Joris, you're almost there. Almost, but not quite. James, you're almost there, but not quite. So let's put those 2 ideas together and see what we can get. Well done, Natasha. This is it. That's right. Santa's most famous elf is indeed Elphys. Yeah, and you have to be careful with the spelling and the pronunciation. And this is the last one. So what do you call Santa Claus when he doesn't move? This is one of the best known ones, I think. So I hope that at least one of you will get the right answer to this one. That is indeed right. Everybody who's come up with that answer, it's Santa Paws. As I say, these are obviously high quality jokes, but for a lot of students, it's really great for them to be able to remember a couple of these jokes, because when you're learning another language, being able to be humorous in that language, even if people don't just laugh, they groan, it's a real sense of achievement. So you give them some of these jokes and then get them to turn over the answers and see if they can remember them, or see if they can tell them to somebody at home or something like that. As I say, it gives them a real sense of achievement. So that one's those are the Christmas jokes. So the next game that we're going to play is called Christmas Speaking Bingo. You can either write your words on a piece of paper. Don't do this in the chat box yet. Or just remember them in your head. I'll tell you what you need to do in a second. Yes, Maria, oh yeah, they could also create their own jokes. So I will show you a question in just a second, and then I will speak about the answer to that question, my answer to that question, for 30 seconds. When I show you the question, and before I speak, you need to write down 3 nouns, verbs, or adjectives that you think I'm going to say. So 3 words, but not grammar words. So you can't write and or the, but for example, you could write Christmas. You can't write one of the words which is in the question either. So no grammar words and no words in the question. So you need to make a note of 3 words, and I'm going to give you 30 seconds to write your words, and then I'll speak for 30 seconds. So here, this is the question. So write down your 3 words now. And you've got 30 seconds. Starting now. So write down your 3 words. They have to be, don't write them in the chat box. Do not write them in the chat box. Write them on a piece of paper or keep them in your head. Do not write them in the chat box. Or you can write them there, but don't press enter. That's very important. You'll find out why in just a second. So you'll hear the buzzer, it'll be very loud. There you go, that's your 30 seconds. Okay, so I'm going to speak for 30 seconds and say my answer to the question. If I use any of your words, you have to tick them off. And afterwards, we'll find out how many words each of you got. That's why you don't write them in the chat box, because I can't know what your words are. So my 30 seconds is starting now. So I normally buy presents for lots of people in my friends and family. This year it's a little bit different because some of my friends have had babies. So for the first time I'm buying lots of baby presents. I also quite like making presents, so I don't always buy them. I like buying things from Christmas markets. So I quite often will buy those for because they're a bit more expensive. That will be maybe for my closer family, or food for my cousins. That's my 30 seconds. So now you need to write in the chat box how many of your words I said. For example, did I say 3 words, 2 words, 1 word? And we'll find out who's the winner. Also, Maria's leading at the moment, and Vota, Senna, Matthias, 0. Oh no, Anna. 3, well done, Joanne, I think is the winner. Joris, I can't have said 4 words because you should only have 3 on your list. so Joanne, I think, is the winner. Joris is playing a different game, I think. So just for future reference, this is the procedure. There's a whole load of questions. Yes, Joris. No, it only counts once, unfortunately, but I didn't specify that in the instructions. You're right. So there's a whole load of questions on the Christmas speaking link that you get there. And this is the procedure. So one student will choose a card and show it to their team. And while their team are writing some of the words down, that's their time to think about what they want to say in answer to the question. And it's very important to specify content words, not grammar words, because some cheeky people will try and put and or the on there. And then the student can speak for 30 seconds, or if you think they can manage it, 1 minute. And sometimes as an extension at the end, I'll get one of the students to ask a question to try and encourage the speaker to use one of their words. So, for example, because Anna got 0 points, I might ask Anna to ask me a question that will lead me to using one of her words, and that one will count as well. And the students repeat it in small groups and add up their points, and the winner's the person with the most points after everybody's had at least 1 turn at being the speaker. That's Christmas speaking bingo. Of course, you can use that with lots of other activities as well. So, next activity. This is where you need a pen and a piece of paper and something to lean on. So this is what you need to do. Take your thing to lean on. Thanks, Anna. Take your thing to lean on and put it onto your head like so. Take your piece of paper and put it on top of that. I recommend having something to lean on because otherwise you will just put holes in your head. And then take your pen like so. I'll give you a few seconds to get ready. While you're doing that, so I'm going to dictate a picture to you, and you need to draw that picture. The whole time you need to keep your hand on your head. You can't put the paper in front of you. It has to be on your head. So hoping that you're all ready and that you've all got your piece of paper. You're lucky, nobody else will have to see it, so it doesn't matter how rubbish it is. But this is the picture that you need to draw. Okay, so you walk into the living room. There is a Christmas tree to the left of the fireplace. So can you draw the Christmas tree and the fireplace? There's a Christmas tree to the left of the fireplace. Above the fireplace, there are 2 stockings. So there is a Christmas tree to the left of the fireplace, and above the fireplace, there are 2 stockings. I hope I'm giving you enough time because obviously I can't see whether you've finished or not. So on top of the Christmas tree, there is a star. On top of the Christmas tree, there is a star. There are baubles on the Christmas tree, or Christmas balls if you've not seen the word baubles before. I know some people call them Christmas balls. So there are baubles on the Christmas tree. You can decide how many, you can decide where they are. Remember that your paper should be on your head at all times. You're not allowed to look at it. There are lots of presents under the tree. There are lots of presents under the tree. There is a table in front of the fireplace with cookies and milk for Santa and a carrot for his reindeer. There is a table in front of the fireplace with cookies and milk for Santa and a carrot for his reindeer. Okay. There's a table in front of the fireplace with cookies and milk for Santa and a carrot for his reindeer. So now you're allowed to take it off your head and have a look at it. Now, if this is the text, this is just there for future reference. So when you, if you want to do this in class, this will all be on my blog and all the slides will be complete like this. So this is how you would do it in class. Put your paper onto your head, listen to the text and draw what you hear, and make sure the students keep their paper on their head. Normally they do, they like doing it, it's quite fun. And then they have to compare their paper with their partner and try and remember the text or remember parts of the text. So probably when they look at their drawing, it'll be a bit difficult to guess what was actually there, but it encourages them to try and piece together what the text was. I'll just show you the text one more time so you can compare it to your drawing. So you walk into the living room. There is a Christmas tree to the left of the fireplace. Above the fireplace there are 2 stockings. On top of the Christmas tree there is a star. There are baubles on the Christmas tree. There are lots of presents under the tree and a table in front of the fireplace with cookies and milk for Santa and a carrot for his reindeer. If you do this activity, it's good to jump around a little bit. Maria, I'd love to see your drawing. It's a really fun activity, and it's good to jump around a little bit and don't make it too easy for them. So you'll notice that I moved from the fireplace to the Christmas tree, and then up the top of the Christmas tree, underneath the Christmas tree, and then back to the fireplace again, because it makes the drawing just look just that little bit crazier. So the students really like doing that. And that works just as well with adults as it does with kids. That's an activity that works with anyone. It's really good for any kind of vocabulary revision where you can come up with some kind of picture. If you want to take a photo of your pictures and share them on Facebook or Twitter afterwards, I'll put some of them into my blog post. It would be good to see some of the results. So yeah, so you've got the procedure there. So that one I call head drawing. I got that from somebody at IH Brno, but I wish, I can't remember exactly who it was. Maria, I like the idea of a guess the picture contest, yeah. So, or you can give them pictures from a class and they have to come up with the text and all work out what the, it's a good like modern arts activity, isn't it? So this is the modern art, what was the original text? Did you get what my text was? I'm happy to see that you were all doing that nicely. Okay, so here's the next activity. So I'm going to put you into groups. So we've finished with Christmas now, and we're moving on to New Year. So let me just see what kind of spread of names I've got. I've got lots of J's and M's. All right, I think. Okay, so wow, I think almost everybody's name seems to start with J and M. There's a lot of yeah. Okay, so if your name starts with A to I, you are group 1. So A to I, group 1. If your name starts with J, K, or M, you are group 2. So group 2. And then N to W, so Natasha down to Vota, sorry, I don't know how to say your name, Natasha down to Vota, you're group 3, okay? So make sure you remember the number of your group. So I'd like you all to close your eyes and I will tell you when to open them. Sorry, Rosa. Yeah, I'd like you all to close your eyes and I'll tell you when to open them. I'm going to show you 3 texts, but each text will only be shown to one group. This is an activity that I stole from Ken Wilson, which I think works really nicely. So everybody close your eyes, and group 1, so that's everybody whose name starts with A to I, can you open your eyes and read this text? Remember the information. So read it and remember it. Group 2 and 3, keep your eyes closed. Okay, so group 1, close your eyes again. Group 1, close your eyes. Group 2, so that's J, K, and JKLM, open your eyes, read this information and remember it. JKLM, read it and remember it. Okay, group 2, close your eyes. So groups 1 and 2, keep your eyes closed. Group 3, open your eyes and read this information. Excuse me, sorry. So group 3, just group 3. Okay, group 3, close your eyes again. Okay, everybody, you can now open your eyes and type whatever you can remember into the chat box. So what do you remember about the tradition that you read about? So hopefully by the end, you should all be able to know about all of the traditions. Excuse me, sorry. Maria, nice. Can anybody fill in any of the gaps in Maria's one? Kevin, all you remember is drunk. Excellent. Joanne, you'll know about Dinner for One probably. I imagine it's shown there. So we've got lots of things about Dinner for One and about the old furniture. What about group 1? Can anyone from group 1 remember anything? There you go. Okay, so these are 3 different unusual New Year traditions. I'm not sure how true they actually are. Mark, I'm not sure if you meant to share that link there or not. I'm not sure how, I'm not sure, apart from Dinner for One, which I know is a definite tradition, I was trying to find out whether the other ones were true or not, but there were lots and lots of blog posts about real traditions and not real traditions and things. I'm not sure, thanks Mark, I'm not sure how true they actually were, but there you go, you have an idea of some weird and wonderful New Year traditions there. So that's one activity you can do. It's called a jigsaw reading. So you can do it by closing your eyes and showing it. Students closing their eyes and showing it on PowerPoint, or you can give them each a text that they then have to remember. So that's the New Year traditions activity. So when I say the words New Year, what's the first word that most people associate with New Year? Okay. Resolution was the word I was looking at for there. I probably should have said collocation rather than word. If I said collocation, we'd have got lots of resolutions, I think. Of course, I didn't want to start with the New Year's resolution activity because you could also, of course, do that activity that I've just done with you. But I didn't want to start with New Year's resolutions because it is the stereotypical one. But I couldn't share New Year activities without mentioning resolutions. So this is my attempt at a twist on New Year's resolutions. So the first question that you need to write the answer to is, do you make New Year's resolutions? Just yes or no, nothing else, just yes or no. I think that's about a 50-50 split of yes and no, and one sometimes. Okay, so the next question is, do you stick to the resolutions if you make them? If you said yes, do you stick to them? Oh, Natasha, you're good. I don't know if that's, do you make resolutions or do you stick to them? Some of them, okay. So New Year's resolutions are pretty notorious for people not actually sticking to them. So that obviously means that you're making nice and realistic resolutions there, Natasha. So obviously we should all look up to you. So I'd like you to list, with the students you would say list 5 popular resolutions. I'm just going to get you to list 1. But obviously we'll all come up with the same ones probably. So what popular resolutions can you think of? Lose weight, stop smoking, better grades, exercise more, study harder, yep. Take up a sport, stop teaching, oh no! Play the guitar better, get to bed earlier, start cleaning, find quality time, yep, that's a pretty big one. Especially for us lot who are all sitting here on a Sunday afternoon / morning watching a webinar. What are you doing, people? Okay. So you've got lots and lots of resolutions there. I like visit elderly people. That's a nice one. Okay, so then I'm just going to show you this cartoon. So I'm not sure how well you can see that. So when it came to New Year's resolutions, Gerald was a realist. All it says is eat grass. So what we're going to try and do now is, how can you make some of those resolutions more realistic? So we had, for example, lose weight, or stop smoking, stop drinking, find quality time. Can you come up with some more realistic twists on some of those resolutions? Yeah, measurable is quite a good word there, I think. Yeah, so what's immediately happened is that everybody's made them a bit more concrete instead of these wishy-washy, general up-in-the-air type resolutions. Now, there's this guy called James Taylor, who you might have heard of, who wrote on his blog recently a post about failure, and that's got some really good tips about helping your students to make more concrete goals, which I think would fit in really nicely with the New Year's resolutions. James, I completely forgot to get the link for it, so can you share the link for your We Need to Talk About Failure blog post? Another follow-on, and this is a bit of self-promotion that you could do, is one of my blog posts, which is called Motivation Stations. So once you've got onto the topic of motivation and resolutions, the Motivation Stations blog post is about 4 or 5 different activities that you can do with your students. Thanks, James, for that. So one of them is watching a TED video, which is called Try Something New for 30 Days, which I'm sure most of you have probably watched. It's 3 minutes, and it's one of the best TED videos ever. I think it's really, really useful. And it's quite motivating for the students. There's also some discussions in there about motivating books and films. So the Motivation Stations activities are things that you could then use to follow up on the resolutions. Excuse me. So that's the last of my activities, but obviously you might find that none of those particularly appeal, in which case there are more Christmas links than you can shake a stick at when you follow that link there, bit.ly/Christmas links. Every time I find a blog post that's connected to Christmas and I think it's got a fairly good activity at the other end of it, I'll add it to that list of links. And then the same for New Year links. There are quite a lot fewer New Year links. There's only about 5 or 6 of them. Those activities seem to be a bit fewer and further between. A lot of them centre around New Year's resolutions. But Mike Harrison had a good one. So if you click on those links, you'll find a link to Mike Harrison's blog, which was using a Calvin and Hobbes cartoon, which I didn't include in here because I wanted to be careful with copyright. But there's within the Christmas links, there are lots of links to video activities, song activities, film activities. For example, Leo Sullivan has a whole set of activities based around Love Actually, which is obviously a must for the Christmas season. And last Wednesday, there was an ELT chat on Christmas activities, which Rachel Dorr has written the summary for. And here's a link to her summary with a whole load of other activities. The link to the summary is also available through the Christmas links link. Sorry, there's lots of linking going on here. So hundreds and hundreds of activities. So I'm pretty sure that you can find something that you might be interested in there. And hopefully that's everything. So you'll be able to find, I've published the link already, you'll be able to find the presentation and all of the materials for all the activities that I've shared at that link. So sandymillin, MILLIN, not EN, .wordpress.com/belterchristmas, sorry, and you'll find all of the links there. Has anybody got any questions that they would like to ask, or if they got any activities that they would like to share? If there's anything that I've missed out in that lightning tour there. Oh, what's that, Lillian? Can you share that? What do you do with that activity? Santa brand, I like the idea of that. Excuse me, sorry. Ah, okay. I think there's a lot of potential discussions. Yeah, there's a lot of potential discussions about the commercialism of Christmas and the message of Christmas as well. So one of the links that I added to my bookmarks earlier on today was one called was one from ELTcation, I think it is, eltcation.wordpress.com, which was a very funny series of activities. But it started off with a version of Santa Claus is coming to town, which was saying that he would burn your tree down if you'd had any bad thoughts about anybody during the year. So that was another one. If you like sarcastic, funny links, I would recommend that one. It's only about a minute long. And there was also a version of Secret Santa on there where everybody swaps presents with each other through a little poem that I thought was a nice idea. There's also, there are all the classic Christmas adverts as well. So in the UK, there's certain shops or brands like John Lewis or Sainsbury's, which, thank you, Lillian, which every year they have an advert, and it's one of the much awaited things, and it becomes news even when it isn't news. But various blogs have lesson plans based around those adverts, so you'll find the links of some of those. Yeah, and sometimes they have history in there, like the Christmas trees from the Sainsbury's advert last year. Thanks for that, Mark. This year, Tesco, for example, have got an advert that's based around a gluten-free Christmas, which is an important thing in my family for various members of my family. So it gets the students thinking about some of the potential problems at Christmas as well, not just all the happy things. She'll add the brand book to my links right now, I think. That looks very interesting. Has anybody else got any other activities that they'd like to share or links? If not, I'll call it a day.
Okay.
I got that. I think I got most of these activities from other people as well. I'm not sure. That one's called listening bingo or speaking bingo. Mark, yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
You need to get blogging again. You need to share some of these things on your blog. It would be really good to see. Yeah, the 12 Days of Christmas is really good. There's also based around the 12 Days of Christmas. You can watch the Creature Comforts YouTube, Creature Comforts Christmas video, which has got lots of things about the 12 Days of Christmas. And there's also lots of alternatives to the 12 Days of Christmas, like letters from a woman who's receiving the presents from her fiance at the beginning of the song, but not quite so in love by the end of it. And yeah, hopefully you'll be able to take some of these activities straight into your classroom. I'd be really interested to hear how they go or what variations you come up with as well. So feel free to comment on the blog post about that, or tell me on Facebook or wherever you're in contact with me.
Okay, I see people are still typing questions, maybe for you, Sandy? Or just thanking you. Yeah, well, I think we have to thank you. This was really, really good fun. I can't remember one of the webinars at Delta that I had such good fun drawing in my head, etc. It was really very nice, very interactive. I think everybody really enjoyed it. So thanks a lot for all your very, very practical and usable ideas that can be really used in the classroom.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you to everyone who's come along as well.
Yes, yeah, there were quite a lot of people today, so that was really, really nice. So thank you very much, Sandy. What else can I say? Maybe just something about our next webinar. We hope to see you all again on the 10th of January when we have a webinar by David Petrie. It's called Recipes for the Unteachable, and in which he will talk about teaching contentious and controversial topics. So we hope to see a lot of you again. I can also remind everybody maybe of the Belper Day, the next Belper Day, the one-day conference we have on the 23rd of April in 2016. And proposals can still be sent in until the end of December, so you still have about 2 weeks to send in a proposal if you would like to be a speaker there. You can find all the information on the Belter website, the application form, and how you can send it in, and all the details you need to know. So all I can do is just thank you once again, especially Sandy, but also everybody who came today. And on behalf of the Belter board, I wish you all very happy holidays.